GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by TyreSpot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. TyreSpot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel and podcast. We are back. It's another Sunday, another match reaction, and it is another victory, 2 in a row for Newcastle United, beating Chelsea midweek in the Cup, and an impressive Newcastle United performance against Arsenal, coming to St James's Park and leaving with 0 points. I am your host, Kris, joined by Scott and Iain early on a Sunday morning as we look back over, like I said, a very impressive performance from the lads there. Scott, let's just get straight into it, mate. I think, did you say 1-0 in the match prediction?
I did. I said early goal as well.
Mate. Well done. But yeah, it's. Do you know what it is? I think we're going into the game, and I know we'll try and be positive in the match reactions because at the end of the match predictions, because at the end of the day, we are Newcastle United fan channel and podcast, so we'll try to be a bit optimistic and level-headed with things. I didn't see that coming, Scott. Even though you said it in your prediction, I did not see that coming, mate. It was fantastic from the lads.
It was an overall team performance, which I think we got a sneak peek of that against Chelsea midweek, and we've just built on that. And it's what's been missing, I think, throughout maybe the past 3 games. It's been a bit more about individuals and individual performances, but we've seen the lads, I don't know whether it's been, they've worked on it, something's been said in the dressing room, maybe, someone's stepped up to the plate, and, we've had a Jamal Lascelles moment from years gone past where someone's, had a word with the rest of the team, and they've kind of pulled themselves together and they've just thought, right, okay, let's stop playing for each other, because you saw that yesterday. You had players, when one player would move forward, another player would fill the position, and they just seemed to be a bit more coherent. And, I'm not saying that they weren't, but like there was just a bit more, just something about them. I don't know if it was the home crowd, I don't know what it was, but it's just Newcastle of old, of Eddie Howe of old, that we've grown accustomed to, and it was great to see.
That's exactly what it was. It reminded me of performances that the season that we got in their 4th spot and got the Champions League place. Very, very, once again, high press like we saw against Chelsea. But Arsenal, we can't deny, Arsenal had a lot of the ball. It was clear to see. But they couldn't break it down. At no point, I think if you're looking at the match stats, I don't think Nick Pope made a save. I'm sure saves by Nick Pope was at 0. Yes, Arsenal had shots, but never really tested Pope. Came out a few times and slapped at the ball and collects the ball and things like that, but never really had a shot and tested him. But I want to come to you, Iain, and mention the likes of the starting 11, because this had a big question mark going into it in the build-up of the game after such great performances from the likes of Tonali and other players in the midweek game against Chelsea. Tonali was dropped, but he did stick with Willock playing, Joelin on the left, and Longstaff staying in that midfield. Obviously, Bruno comes in for Tonali. And do you know what it is? I know we will go through the goal and things like that, but there's a couple of performances we need to highlight. And Scott mentioned overall team performance. 100% agree with that. I think every single player on the field was fantastic yesterday against Arsenal. But the big question which we have now is that we've now had 2 back-to-back games with Longstaff back in that middle 3 and 2 victories. Has that been the problem?
It's a difficult one to say, because I think if you're looking at your best starting midfielders, just not necessarily on name, but what you think they can bring to the plate.
Capabilities, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Longstaff's in your best 3. That being said, I'm going to mess this saying up like that. I mess his stats up, but it's the total of the sum of the whole is greater than the individual, or something along those lines. Where yes, Tonali arguably is a better player than Longstaff, but for the balance in midfield. Like, and everyone's like, oh, well, you're just throwing Buzz Fraser's at Longstaff. But when you actually watch him, his ball recovery is really good. Like, he'll just sit in front of the back four. He recycles possession really, really well. Yes, when he gets in those final third areas, he's not the most technical. He can't really unlock defences, but he does actually offer something. And it seemingly on the last two results, it's what we have been missing. And again,
Not
yesterday,
to mention that though, Ian, you could actually throw in, and yes, we're talking about Longstaff, yeah, but we could also throw in and say, can Bruno and Tonali work together? Which the last two games haven't been starting together. Is that the issue?
And this is what we sort of asked before Tonali went on his ban. Was we were buzzing that Tonali was at the club, buzzing obviously Bruno's at the club, but it just something didn't seem to click. There's been performances where one of them's it hasn't been like a cohesive performance. Like Scott was saying, it's been individuals. So Tonali's had good games, Bruno's had good games, but they don't. I'm not saying that they can't play well, but like I say, it might just take a little bit more time for them to gel. But like I say, Longstaff came in yesterday again, and I thought he had another really, really good game. Similar, obviously, I've criticised Hall previously and Tino, but I'm sure I've seen a stat where they weren't dribbled past at all yesterday, Tino and Hall. So, like you say, there's good performances all over that pitch yesterday, and it was refreshing to see. Yes, it wasn't a sort of complete performance where we dominated the game, but against Arsenal, you're not going to do that. And I think Howe himself yesterday came out and said as much, that you're not going to be able to dominate football every game, and you'll have to find ways to win. And obviously, that's what we did.
I'm not going to go too deep into the whole Longstaff and midfield issue because I'm probably going to save that for tomorrow night on the Always Smiling Faces show, because I think it's going to probably get a bit lively in there, because I think we disagree with the whole Longstaff, just like the rest of the fan base. And there's some great quotes, quite upsetting quotes from Longstaff after the game as well, where you feel a little bit sorry for the lad. But like I said, I will touch on that on Monday's show when we do go live. Scott, Ian has mentioned Lewis Hall there at left back. He did pick up man of the match, I believe. I haven't looked back over it, but I'm sure when I was in the pub afterwards, he was the one being interviewed. So I'm assuming he's got man of the match.
Yeah, he did.
And thoroughly deserved as well, because Saka couldn't get past him. He didn't give Saka a chance. And do you know what? Saka kept on trying. And Hall basically mopped up everything at the back, and more so many crucial tackles as well, where he's coming into the centre-back role and mopping up there as well. And going forward, do you know what it is? We keep on saying this every single week, that each match day passes, he just improves and improves. And thoroughly deserved that man of the match, because he was unbelievable yesterday.
He was, and do you know what? You say thoroughly deserved, and it was thoroughly deserved, but equally so, Tino thoroughly deserved it. I think Bruno probably had one of his best games of the season. You could actually put that man of the match on about 5-6 players in a Newcastle shirt yesterday, and there would be no arguments. But Hall stood out. One, he blocked arguably a goal-scoring opportunity in the first half, albeit with his back. I don't know how much he knew about it from an Arsenal corner, but he still got the block in. But yeah, he had Saka's life yesterday. I don't want to say poor Saka, but you know, it's Bukayo Saka. He's an England international. He's a good player, and that will be Lewis Hall. He will be an England international based on the performances of the past. I don't even just want to say week. It's been coming. We've seen this, and he just needs to build on that. And he was saying in his interview after the game that they got him on the BT Sports table they've got on the pitch. And he was saying, look, last season was a bit frustrating, but he understands why Eddie Howe did what he did, because he had to improve his defensive game. He now feels like he's improving that game. He says he's not quite there yet. He still has a lot to learn. He's only, 20, 21? I don't know exactly how old he is. But he was saying, I've got nothing but praise for what Eddie Howe's done. I can't thank him enough. The guy, he also seems like a really level-headed individual for the age of him as well. And yeah, he seems like at the moment, one of, if not the best left back in the country, England wise, English, if you look at for that England position, because, Luke Shaw kind of keep fit. And I don't think Chilwell even gets a game anymore for Chelsea. So, you're looking at the England lineup, he's well in contention, and that's only good news for us because that's going to push him to keep performing. And to go back to the game, he was absolutely solid. He was, you can rely on him. He's, I think he had one little blip early on, but the good thing about the way we're playing at the moment, he had Joe Linton dropping in and protecting him. He had Joe Willock coming back a little bit and protecting him. Not that he needed it. He didn't need it at all. But in that one-off chance, I think he either slipped or something happened and it didn't get past him, but he just didn't. I think he either misread the judge of the ball or something and they did get in. There was players to protect him, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the team were playing for each other. They were covering positions where people were falling out. And that, to me, because it could have been, for me, for man of the match, Hall or Tino, there was one incident, I think, in the first half where Tino, I think he just delayed on the ball a little bit and got the ball taken off him in our final third, where Dan Burn had to cut across and put a block in. And it was a great block, but that was the one thing that was like, okay, well, that gives it a halt for man of the match. And that's like nitpicking to the finest of nits. Like, that's the only thing. And I'm not saying Tino's a fault for anything.
Finest of nits.
That's all it is, and that's the margins we're talking about here for how good of a performance it was for every player yesterday. Like, I'm picking up on that because that's all I can pick on. And it's nothing. Like, it's really nothing. And, you could get pelters in the comments going, oh, well, you're picking up on these little things. It's nothing, right? It's absolutely nothing. But that's what we're talking about when the performance is that good from so many individuals. That's the sort of thing you've got to pick up on because there's nothing else to talk about when you talk about a bad side of the game because there wasn't much. There wasn't much at all.
You've mentioned the left hand side of the field as well. Obviously, in front of Hall, you've got the likes of Joe Willock and Joe Linton just doing that versatile role where the chop and change. Ian, do you know what it is? I love seeing that back. I'm a big fan of that, and maybe that is solving that formation issue which we said we had in midfield, and if it was just not the clientele or the formation in that midfield, bringing Joe Willock back into it, and I think it was Joe a couple of weeks ago mentioned it, and you got absolute pelters in the comments saying Joe Willock isn't going to solve our problems, and maybe by himself, I agree, he's not, but the dynamic that him and Joe Linton have on that left hand side of the field, once again we saw it in the season that we're finished in the top four. It's honestly it's great to see, and as long as Joe Willock can stay fit, then fair play because it works.
Yeah, 100%. I think it worked really, really well. Like you say, a couple of seasons ago, we haven't really seen it as much. But yesterday, I thought worked really well. I thought Joe Willock as well. He similar to what you were saying, that you don't realise what you miss from him until he's back in the team because he gets about the pitch so well, and it's not even like he's. It kind of looks effortless, and I don't know whether it's his long strides or what, but there was 1 minute he was like halfway line, then next minute he's in the box having a shot, and he linked up really well with Joe Linton yesterday as well. And like Scott was saying, Joe Linton fills that little void where if Hall wants to go forward, he's really, really good at sitting and doing that, and Willock as well. But like what Scott was saying before as well, it was just a really good team performance. Even as far as sort of the second half, where Gordon looked like he was blowing out his arse, but he was covering. I think Arsenal put a ball in, and it felt maybe it's Jesus at the back. He takes a touch, and Gordon whips it away from him, and would clear it. So it wasn't like I say, it wasn't a glamorous performance. At times, it was sort of quite dogged the last 5-10 minutes, where we're a little bit backs against the walls. But
100% backs against the wall. It was in the last 10-15, easy. It
was just really, really good to be able to see that game out. What determined you, and like Scott said, everyone was fighting for everyone. You could see what it meant when I think it was maybe 94th minute or something, where Saka floated a cross in and Pope gathers it and then goes to the ground. Everyone's like basically celebrating like it's the game's finished already. So it was really refreshing to see, because I think, and I said as much in the group chat, sort of this week and going into next week, I genuinely couldn't see we're getting a win, even any points, to be honest. From obviously, I know the cup game you don't get points, but the Chelsea game, Arsenal game, and then Forest next week, I would have been very surprised had we picked up any results in that. But it's been a massive week for Howe, and I think he's needed that. Maybe he's just to instill a little bit of confidence in him and in his team again. And I think you did see that yesterday, where they were like, we are the Newcastle of old. We're not going to be pushed around. We're going to work for each other. So it was really refreshing to see.
I think it's galvanised everybody, the last two results, not just the likes of Eddie Howe, but the club as a whole and anything associated with the club. I mentioned on the reaction to the Chelsea game, saying that we've needed that result and that performance, because yes, start of the season we've been through this so many times where the performances weren't there, but we're getting points. That switched where performances were there and we weren't picking up any points. Now we're getting both. Like, I know it's only 2 games, I'm not getting ahead of myself, but you're seeing the Newcastle that we love to see and that we have been used to since Eddie Howe came in. And just to go back to the game, Scott, and just to go through the goal, just because I don't want to go too long on this one, but the goal itself, and I want to give a shout at Dasmo, because Dasmo was a little bit good. He couldn't come on the reaction because he was buzzing. And Dasmo said that the goal just reminded him of Newcastle of old. And he mentions the players, the likes of Gillespie to Sir Les, crossing that ball in, Orsolano to Shearer. We saw it a couple of seasons ago with Rondon. I can't remember who put the ball on for Rondon, but it was a great header from Rondon. I can't remember who it was. But once again, so the ball comes through and it's Longstaff that plays Gordon on the right-hand side. And it's just a one-touch cross from Gordon, which is honestly the best cross you're going to see this season, because the leap from Isak is phenomenal. The power that he gets in the head as well. There's a couple of people after the game in the pub saying, should the keeper have done better? No chances. There's absolutely no chance that the keeper's doing anything with that, because it's hit in the perfect area, straight in. And do you know what it is? It's the noise in St. James's Park. The atmosphere was decent yesterday, and I know there has been a lot of question marks over the atmosphere at the home games. But once again, Chelsea game and this game against Arsenal, it was there. It was ready. The fans were ready to give it them all, and we got it all back. And that goal just summed it up, because the place went wild when that hits about the next, Scott. It's just a great, once again, great team goal. It
was. And yet to come through on the atmosphere, it came through on the TV. You could hear it all throughout the game, the 90 minutes. It just seemed like it was up for it, even though it was an early kickoff. You normally find early kickoffs are a bit
hit and miss. The hit and miss early kickoffs.
Yeah, the time in the pub they'll get tanked up enough, but it seems, I don't know if the stacks open early and people are able to get in there or whatever, but it seems to be doing the job wherever people go. But to go back to the goal, I think it's a ball from Fabian Schär originally. And he plays it in, and it's Joe Willock putting a bit of pressure on the defender, who causes him to head it straight to Isak. And then it's a give and go. He passes it to Longstaff and just pelts it in the box straight to Gordon. And the interviewed Isak after the game, and he's like, I don't get many headers, but if Anthony Gordon wants to deliver balls like that, I'll score more of them, because he said, he's like, I just had to put my head on it. I didn't even have to do much. I just had to jump and made sure I hit it, because any connection and I'm gonna get on it. And I don't think the keeper could do much. I think the only thing, if you're going to criticize Arsenal, what they could do, they could be tighter on Isak in the box, so he can't make that connection, so they can't get that jump. I think they give him too much space in the box.
I think it's probably that's on Gordon. I think, because they're probably expecting Gordon to take a touch, then cross it in. Yeah, but obviously just the speed that gets whipped in, the speed and the power is honestly pinpoint. It's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, throughout the game, Gordon was pushing at the box, because what he was trying to get was Timber to foul him. So he was going down, because we know what Gordon does. He powers into the box, he looks for the foul, and he goes down and wins the penalty. So that's what Arsenal were wary of. Didn't do it this time. He hit the first time cross, which arguably we've been wanting every single game this season, for a ball to be whipped in early for a player to meet, and we haven't had it. So the one time we've actually done it, or well, maybe not the one time, that's a bit harsh, but when we've actually done it and it's succeeded, look what happens. We'll get the goal, we'll catch the opponents off guard, because they're not set up for us to do that, because it's not what we've been doing. So it was a great work goal. I think even Shearer, I think you've seen the clip of him saying, it's a cross from the 90s. It was a good team goal again. I've used the word team quite a lot, but it just sums up the overall performance of everything.
Do you know what? To stick with Gordon as well, though, Scott, there was a moment later on in the game where Gordon is I think he starts back in probably our left-hand side, further in our own half, and he literally closes the ball. He follows the ball to left wing, to the center of the field, then back over on the right-hand side. He's literally chasing every single ball down.
Yeah.
And do you know what it is? He was absolutely knackered at the end of the game. And I think he was gutted to be taken off because I think he was shocked when his number went up on the board to be replaced. But
that was
just shows like that attitude, which I know a lot of people were questioning at the start of the season, but you can see he's back. Gordon is back to the player that he was last season.
Well, when he came off was just after what Iain was talking about earlier, where he chased back and tackled Jesus in the box. When he got the ball and he intercepted, and then he seen him look up and he goes, "Oh, is it me coming off? Oh, okay." And he then had to walk around the Gallowgate as he was coming off. He would have been right in front of you, Kris.
Yeah.
So he got his hero's reception as he walked around the back of the goal, no doubt. So yeah, we saw a little bit at Everton chasing the ball, but it seemed a bit more like chasing a lost cause when he was playing at Everton. Seemed to be doing it because he seemed to be the only player who cared when you kind of looked at it when he played at Everton. He's doing it now and getting it for a reason, and it seems to be more of a want to do it for the side as opposed to want to be putting himself in a shop window, which maybe he was doing at Everton because he was at a side where they weren't performing and the players weren't playing for themselves. But I'm all for it. He can do it every week if as long as it keeps him fit and he's pulling out performances like he was yesterday. It's great to see.
Great team performance. And do you know what it is? Just to wrap it up, right? And it seems like we're going to be mentioning this every single week. But I'm going to go to the referee once again. And do you know what it is? I think it's Newcastle player that's the first one in the book, despite Arsenal and Thomas Partey to be the one that's just constantly fouling, constantly over and over again. There's one point later on the first half, just before half-time whistle goes. There's a foul on our left-hand side, and it's Partey once again. And the referee goes away. He's already just had a word with him a couple of minutes before. And the referee points to 3 places on the field. He goes, one there, and another one there. And still doesn't book him. And everybody's going, what's happening here? And I think, I can't remember. I think it's Fabian that's the first one booked for kicking the ball away, which is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and we shouldn't be doing it. But there's moments in the game where Arsenal players were going down with the slightest and minimal of touches, and the referee was falling for it every single time. And even when Arteta's came out before and saying Newcastle time waste, they were time wasting right from the first whistle. Was so unbelievably frustrating, and it's annoying how the ref gets conned by it every single time. That's the most annoying thing. But yes, he did obviously start booking players later on in the game. Marino gets a yellow card. Timber, Havertz gets one at one point as well. That's not to say our lads didn't get them, because we got an abundance as well. I think we got 3 or 4 yellow cards.
Bookings were really soft though. Like I think Longstaff's was literally for just criticising a decision, because I don't even think it was a foul. Criticises it, gets booked. I think Tonali's is really harsh. He's running alongside him. He flicks the ball. The player goes down. For me, never a yellow card.
He's only been on the field for a few moments as well, hasn't he?
Because Willock, I thought initially it was a really good challenge. It probably was a foul, but again, I think it's a bit of a soft booking.
So our yellow cards were that one, the Tonali one, which you've mentioned. Nick Pope gets one for time wasting, which he was doing, which he's going to get. Fabian Shaw was the one once again for kicking the ball away, and Willock. I don't think Longstaff picked one up, to be fair.
Oh, it might have been Cher that got booked after was Fabian that Longstaff
kicked the ball away.
Yeah, that would have been it then.
Which was ridiculous. He deserved to get it because he shouldn't be doing it. But there's still moments in the game where we have a throw in it, and the Arsenal players were throwing a ball back on the field, and you're thinking, like, that's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the referee just got conned by it. But luckily, it didn't have any sort of impact on the game, because to wrap it up, you could
also argue the one player who should have been booked for us was Joel Linton, because he was sticking his foot in a bit and getting a bit around the pitch. And luckily he didn't, because he's one booking off a ban, and he's getting into a good form. So it swings and roundabouts. I think I've seen a few Arsenal accounts going, "Oh, the referee was wearing a black and white shirt again." It's like, have a rest, man. You lost it fair and square again.
Honestly,
it's going to go on for another year.
The Arsenal fans in the stands at one point, you didn't hear them much, but I don't want to say that they weren't great, because we are sitting in the corner. It's very hard to hear the away fans. Yeah, you just can't hear them. Even there'll be a point at the ground where people say, "Oh, they were non-stop," but just where I am, you can't hear them. The one time I did hear them was chanting to the referee, "You don't know what you're doing." And I was going, "Are you watching a different game to us?" And to go back to the Willock one, I think the issue with Willock's challenge was it was more of a scissor challenge, wasn't it? And he jumps off the ground, and I think he's just not in control. I think he does it out of frustration more than anything. Which I think he does get the ball, but it did look dangerous from where I was, and I'm the other side of the ground, but it did look dangerous. But boys, honestly, great 3 points, really good 3 points. And I think that's probably the last 2 games back to back. It's 100% being our best performances. You can't deny that. And yes, it helps that the points are coming with it and the progression in the cup as well. We're not getting too ahead of ourselves. God knows what the next game is going to hold. You've got Forest coming up, who are sat 3rd, I think, in the Premier League at the moment.
Really
which
difficult game. That
mental. Going up against the likes of all Newcastle players in Kris Wood, Anderson, Matt Sells is in there as well. And Anderson's having a great season at Forest. Likewise with Kris Wood as well. I think he got on the score sheet again yesterday. So it's going to be a tough game.
The player of the month. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Mental. It's going to be a tough game, but we've got the momentum. So let's fingers crossed that we'll get another 3 points on that one. But like, you know what it is, lads? I'm just buzzing. Like, I'm really buzzing that it's how would turn that corner. Maybe not yet. Maybe it is too early to tell. But the signs are there, and the best thing about it is we're seeing changes. I think we're all getting a little bit frustrated with the likes of the formation and the players just not really putting the performances, but still get game time the next week. That's the best thing about it. So fingers crossed it continues and there's more challenging for the likes of the positions, which just helps us out and you get better performances from the rest of the lads. Anything that you want to add before we call it a day?
Just glad that it was Arsenal would beat, because I can't stand Arteta, and he's probably whinging probably whinging his tits off for another year. Which makes it all
Do you
the
know
more
what it is?
sweet.
They can't even come out and say that they deserve to get anything from the game because they never challenge it. And do you know what it is? Apart from the one which is mentioned earlier is where I think it's Rice at the back post. That's probably the only really chance, and it was one of the last kicks of the game. And you're thinking Rice should have probably done better than that. But once he missed that, I don't even think it hits a side net. I think it's completely gone.
It goes completely wide.
Once he missed that, I'm thinking game's ours. That's ours, lads. Wrap it up. Full-time whistle. Let's go and get absolutely smashed. But yeah, thanks for everybody who has been watching or listening to this one on the audio. If you are watching on YouTube, just give us a thumbs up, like the video if you don't mind. Become a subscriber. It costs you nothing to do that either. You can become a member. It is just $2.99 a month. You do get early access to videos as well amongst that and other things. And if you are just listening to the audio, just leave us a 5-star review if you can do so and a little comment as well. Thanks, boy. At least we can enjoy the weekend. First time for a little while. See you later. Ta-ra.